Okay, let's unpack this. Have you ever stopped to think about how much of your life is driven, maybe quietly, by wanting to feel in control?
Mm-hmm.
It's more than just a preference, right? The study we're looking at calls it a fundamental human imperative. It goes really deep.
It really does. And today, yeah, we're doing a deep dive into this really fascinating AI-driven scientific study. Our mission, if you like, is to dissect this whole human need for control
Right.
across all its facets, biology, psychology, how societies work, even our link to nature. It's kind of like a shortcut to understanding something huge about us.
Yeah, not just Psychology 101. We're
Yeah,
talking biology, philosophy, social stuff, environment. It's about getting the knowledge fast, but, properly.
connecting the dots on something you feel every day.
Exactly. And what's cool is how this study does it. It demands this cross-discipline approach, pulling together different ways of knowing.
Like an AI would. Sort of, yeah. Like
Yeah.
processing tons of info from different angles. We'll see how these different fields, even with their own theories, they actually line up to shed light on this really deep need. It's pretty coherent.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning then, the roots. This study says this need isn't just learned, it's foundational, crucial for us as individuals and for society too.
Absolutely. And it's hardwired. You can see signs of it really early in development.
Wow.
And what's striking is what happens when that need isn't met. If you consistently feel like you have no control, it creates this discord, leads to distress, all sorts of maladaptive behaviors.
Okay.
Physiologically, think increased autonomic arousal. That's your stress response going haywire.
Like fight or flight.
Yeah, heart rate up, stress hormones pumping. Over time, it can even mess with your immune system, and it can lead to what they call learned helplessness. It's a critical survival thing, really, like an internal alarm.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. Control theory. The study brings us up talking about negative feedback loops. What does that mean in practice?
Okay, think about a tightrope walker. They're constantly making tiny adjustments to stay balanced, right?
Yeah.
It's a negative feedback loop. It senses deviation, corrects it. And it's not just physical balance. This applies to psychological states, too. Your sense of self, keeping aligned with your values.
Yeah.
It's this constant, often subconscious adjustment process.
Huh. So it's happening all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
And you really see how vital it is when control is just gone. The study points to animal research like just restraining rodents, no actual harm,
Uh-huh.
triggers massive stress responses.
Yeah.
Heart rate, stress hormones like norepinephrine, cortisol, even stomach
It's
ulcers,
from being restrained.
just from lacking control.
Yeah.
Captive animals often show weird behaviors. They don't thrive. But even giving people, say, in nursing homes, one small choice,
Like what?
like choosing a meal or when to see visitors, small things.
Yeah.
It's been shown to boost mood, quality of life, even how long they live.
That's incredible. Just a little bit of choice makes that much difference.
It really shows how choice boosts self-efficacy, that belief you can actually do things, make things happen.
Right. That feeling of competence.
Exactly. And here's a wild bit. The illusion of control. Thinking you have more sway over chance events than you do.
Yeah, like a lucky shirt or something.
Kind of like that. The study says that's actually adaptive. It's not just silly.
Adaptive. How?
It can protect you from maladaptive responses like giving up.
Oh,
It's almost like the mind needs to keep this stable, predictable feeling of control, like your body regulating temperature, a buffer against uncertainty.
wow. Okay. So there's a brain basis for this. The prefrontal cortex, the PFC, and dopamine. How do they fit in?
They're critical. It's this intricate dance between them that helps control thought and behavior. Dopamine basically helps neurons tune into the important stuff. It boosts the signal-to-noise ratio.
Like turning up the volume on what matters.
Precisely. Filtering out the static. So the brain itself is kind of working like an engineered control system, always optimizing.
That makes sense. And the study mentions two types of dopamine activity, tonic and phasic.
Right. Tonic dopamine is the steady background level. It helps keep your current goals stable in the PFC, keeps you on track.
Okay.
But then you get these quick bursts, that's phasic dopamine. They act like a gate, signaling, okay, this new info is important, grab it, store it. It lets you update your plans, be flexible.
So one keeps you steady, the other lets you adapt.
Exactly. It's this really neat balance between stability and agility, a sophisticated neural setup.
So this isn't new then. This need for control, it's not a modern stress thing. It goes way back.
Way back, deeply rooted in our evolution, tied directly to survival. There's this thing called the adaptive capacity model. It suggests our brains evolved to thrive when we're actively engaged physically and mentally. Think hunter-gatherers.
Right. Needing complex control over body, environment, plans.
Totally.
Yeah.
And the flip side is maybe our modern, more sedentary lives, by not engaging that evolved need enough, could actually contribute to things like cognitive decline.
Huh. That's a sobering thought. So it connects to why we, as humans, strive for human results, making an impact, shaping things.
Yeah, the study links it back to the ultimate driver.
Yeah.
Reproductive success, evolutionarily speaking.
Yeah.
Our psychology is geared towards ensuring that.
So wanting to influence the world isn't just ego.
It's embedded deep in our heritage. It's not just surviving, it's flourishing, creating, leaving a mark, which, way back, improved chances of passing on your genes.
Okay, that gives us a solid foundation. So knowing all this, how do we actually foster a healthy sense of control? Especially thinking about kids. The study mentions agency from an early age.
Yeah, that's crucial. The ideal scenario, it suggests, is designing environments that have both predictability and chances for autonomy.
Like what? Give me examples.
Okay, so consistent things like meal times, bedtime rituals that give that base layer of security, predictability. Kids know what to expect.
Right.
But just as vital is giving them chances to choose. Even small stuff, what to wear, what game to play, and allowing lots of free play to explore emotions. Plus, positive discipline, clear limits, calm explanations, not just punishment. That builds self-efficacy.
And it says tough love or boot camps.
Yeah.
Not so good.
No, the evidence suggests they're often ineffective, even harmful, because they strip away that essential feeling of control and agency.
That makes sense. Now, it's fascinating that even though we all need control, how we see it varies. Locus of control, internal versus external. Can you unpack that?
Sure. So internal locuses means you generally believe you control what happens to you. Your actions matter. You take credit or blame, often linked to being motivated, resilient.
Okay.
External locuses means you tend to think things are up to fate, luck, other people. Outside forces. This is often linked with more stress, maybe depression.
And can you be a mix?
Yeah. The study mentions bilocals people who can shift between blaming themselves or circumstances appropriately. They might actually handle stress better. It's complicated, though. Genetics, brain chemistry, life experiences all play in.
So, okay, bringing it back to the listener. What does this mean for your actual well-being? Mental, physical health, even how long you live?
It's profound. The perception of control has huge impacts. Consistently, research shows feeling in control links to better immune function, healthier heart function, even physical strength, and definitely less anxiety and depression.
And the flip side, lack of control.
Strongly linked to anxiety, depression, to get learned helplessness again. With panic disorder, just giving patients a bit more perceived control can reduce symptoms. And those nursing home studies.
Yeah, you mentioned those.
Residents given simple choices over their day didn't just feel better, they literally lived longer. It's a powerful mind-body link.
Wow.
So healthy control isn't about dominating everything. It's more about being adaptable, knowing when to push and change things, and when to accept what you can't change.
That's a really important distinction. Okay, let's zoom out now. This drive isn't just individual, right? It shapes whole societies. How does it work? What are these agents of social control?
Right. Societies have ways to guide behavior. Informally, you've got family teaching values, maybe religion setting moral compasses, peer groups establishing norms, media shaping views.
That's everyday stuff.
Yeah. Then formally, you have schools teaching skills and loyalty, police enforcing laws, governments making policy, workplaces setting rules. It's this mix of internal self-control and external pressures, rewards, punishments that keeps things running. The balance is key for whether it feels fair or oppressive.
That balance sounds crucial.
Yeah.
Which brings up leadership and politics. How does the need for control play out there? The study talks about power versus authority.
Yeah, key distinction. Power often relies on coercion, forcing people. Authority relies more on persuasion, legitimacy, people agreeing to follow.
So stable control comes from agreement.
The study suggests stable, long-term societal control often needs that legitimacy. People have to buy in, which makes political manipulation interesting. It's not force, but it's not honest persuasion either.
How does it work then?
It works by hiding true intentions or misleading people. It can be communicative, spreading rumors, fake stats, denying science, violating testimonial honesty, as this study puts it.
Twisting the information.
Exactly. Or it can be situational, rigging the game indirectly.
Yeah.
Gerrymandering, messing with ballot order, controlling the agenda so certain things never even get discussed.
Okay.
It basically undermines your ability to make a real, informed choice. It exploits our need for control by making us think we're deciding freely when the options or info are skewed.
And depressingly, this need can be twisted in really harmful ways on a personal level, too. Abusive relationships. The study mentions coercive control.
Yes. It starkly points out how power imbalances and coercive control are often foundational in abuse, isolating the victim, controlling their choices, finances, social contact. It prevents them from leaving by systematically stripping away their agency and sense of control. A tragic twisting of that fundamental need into dominance.
That's heavy. And it scales up too, doesn't it? Between groups,
My place.
cultural dominance.
Definitely. The need for control extends to our group identities. It fuels intergroup conflict, attempts to make one culture dominant over another. Intolerance often comes from this rigidity, this fear of the unknown other. It's driven by uncertainty.
And hate.
In its worst forms, often stems from deep mistrust and feeling powerless. Ignorance fuels it too, like colonial powers, seeing other cultures as lesser because they were different. It justifies controlling them.
But there's hope, right? The study mentions superordinate goals. How can control be channeled positively between groups?
Yes, that's a key insight. While needing control can divide, it can also unite. Social identity theory shows prejudice can pop up just from being aware of different groups. But give those groups a common goal, something bigger than themselves that requires them to work together.
Like rebuilding after a disaster or a shared project.
Exactly. Those superordinate goals can break down barriers and reduce conflicts significantly.
Yeah.
Shared purpose channels that control drive constructively.
Okay. Now, what about when control gets too centralized in society? Too top-down? The study uses an interesting analogy, monolithic software.
Yeah, it's a great analogy. Monolithic software starts simple but gets complex and tangled. Hard to update, one glitch can crash the whole thing. It causes cognitive overload for developers.
Okay. So how does that apply to societies?
Think authoritarian governments, rigid bureaucracies. They become these monoliths. They stifle individual and group initiative. They can't adapt easily. And ultimately, they're fragile because they clash with that basic human need for distributed control, for agency. They become unsustainable.
Fascinating analogy. Okay, let's get philosophical for a bit. The really big questions about control. Free will versus determinism. Do we really choose? Or is it all predetermined?
The classic debate. The study touches on it. Free will is our sense that we can choose, that we're the source of our actions, which is kind of necessary for moral responsibility, right?
Yeah, seems like it.
Determinism says everything, including our choices, is just the inevitable result of prior causes, like dominoes falling.
So they can't both be true.
Well, incompatibilists say no. You either have hard determinism, no free will, or you believe free will exists and determinism is wrong. But compatibilists argue they can coexist. They define free will differently, like acting on your desires without being forced, even if those desires were ultimately caused.
So it depends on your definition.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
The study notes that whatever the deep truth is, we humans tend to see ourselves as agents who can resist outcomes, even if we know things influence us. That feeling of agency is strong.
And that perceived control, that agency, ties right back into moral responsibility and the ethics of manipulation. You mentioned autonomy before.
Right. Autonomy is basically self-government. Being free from controlling interference and free from internal limits like not understanding the situation properly. Manipulation hits that second part hard.
How so? It's not force.
No, but it's sneaky. It warps your information or plays on your emotions or biases, so you can't make a truly meaningful choice aligned with your own values. The study uses Huxley's Brave New World as an example.
Where everyone's sort of conditioned to be happy with their lot.
Exactly. They think they're living the life they want, but their desires have been manipulated. The study argues this changes who you fundamentally are without you even knowing it. It corrupts the basis for autonomous decisions.
So how do you judge if something's manipulation?
The study suggests a useful test, the hypothetical disclosure test. Would the person doing the influencing be willing to openly tell you exactly what they're doing and why?
If they wouldn't, it's probably shady.
Probably manipulative, yeah. It's a good ethical check.
That is a good check.
Yeah.
It makes you think about belief systems, too. Religions, moral codes. They're powerful ways society guides behavior, right? Control and conformity.
Hugely powerful. They shape public debate, laws, everything. When a moral view gets written into law, it shows the collective trying to establish a desired state for society. But there's also internal control over beliefs.
What do you mean?
The ethics of belief idea. It suggests we actually have a responsibility to form our beliefs rationally based on evidence. For a healthy society, people need to exercise that kind of responsible control over their own thinking, not just accept things passively.
Okay, let's shift focus one more time to our planet. This deep need for control, especially over resources. It's had massive environmental consequences, often bad ones.
Absolutely. We need resources, food, water, energy. And technology has amplified our ability to take them. But pursuing control relentlessly without seeing the whole picture leads to pollution, depletion, damage like deforestation, overfishing.
It's the negative side of the control drive.
A critical negative side, yeah. Applying control without understanding the ecological system. It creates unsustainable human results that throw the balanced universe out of whack. We're overriding nature's feedback loops.
But control theory applies to nature too, you said. Ecosystems have their own feedback loops.
Exactly. That same framework helps understand nature's rules. Ecosystems use complex feedback to maintain balance, achieve stability.
So where do humans fit in?
We're complex agents within that system. We're uniquely able to understand and influence those loops. But if our actions trigger negative feedback, climate change, species loss, we're fighting the system's own balancing act.
So we need to align our control with nature's rules.
Yes. For a balanced universe, our drive for control needs to shift from just exploitation to conscious regulation, stewardship, working with the system.
So how do we get there, towards a more balanced future? You mentioned AI drove this study. Can AI help us manage this better?
That's the really hopeful part. AI can process insane amounts of data from all these different fields, neuroscience, ecology, sociology.
More than a human brain could juggle.
Way more. It can spot intricate patterns, model complex feedback loops we'd miss. It can reconcile different theories, find those intersections. It embodies that science of the science approach.
It gives us a much clearer picture.
A clear, more holistic picture, yeah. And potentially predictive power to guide better interventions, to help us align our actions for a better outcome.
Okay, so wrapping this all together, informed by this whole deep dive, what would an ideal human culture look like? And its leaders? A society aiming for prosperity in that balanced universe.
Well, first, it would actively value and teach healthy agency, self-efficacy right from the start. It would champion critical thinking, media literacy, so people can resist manipulation.
Yeah.
Transparency would be key.
Makes sense. What else?
Empathy, openness to diversity, using those superordinate goals to resolve conflict, recognizing intolerance often comes from fear and a rigidity. And crucially, a deep, integrated understanding of natural systems. Environmental stewardship wouldn't be an afterthought, it'd be core. Plus, taking responsibility for our own beliefs.
And the leaders in that culture.
They'd prioritize persuasion and legitimacy, not coercion.
Yeah.
Build trust. They'd be transparent, accountable. They'd avoid those rigid, monolithic control structures.
Fostering distributed control instead.
Exactly. Recognizing that decentralized, adaptable systems are stronger. It means leaders with high emotional intelligence who understand these deep psychological needs, guiding us towards collective well-being, not just hoarding power. So, yeah, to sum up, this need to feel in control, it's fundamental, deeply embedded, a vital adaptive mechanism for well-being for society, but it's got that dual nature.
A double-edged sword.
Absolutely. Unchecked, misdirected, leads to manipulation, conflict, hurting the planet. Like those brittle monolithic systems.
So achieving that healthy, educated, good society, prosperity, a balanced universe, it really comes down to managing this drive consciously.
Cultivating healthy control personally and collectively, pushing back against the negative forms through transparency, empathy, smart system design that empowers people.
And AI could be a powerful ally in that.
A potentially unparalleled tool, yeah.
Right.
For understanding the complex feedback, for helping us align our actions with the planet's and our own psychological needs, channeling that control drive towards harmony.
You know, this whole conversation suggests true control might not be about mastering everything out there. Maybe it's more about mastering ourselves, how we perceive control, how we pursue it, how we harmonize that need with the world around us.
That's a great way to put it.
So a final thought for everyone listening. What does balanced control look like in your own life? And how might fostering it or just noticing its absence actually change your daily experience? Something to think about.
This is DigitView.